Good evening. It is entirely my pleasure to be coordinating the 104th episode under Trends Literature series with the author, creative consultant, and content writer, Meeti Shroff-Shah. And she's just written a wonderful book, The Death of Kirti Kadakia. It's a fast-paced book, more like a Agatha Christie that you would have read in your childhood and still now. And the best part is that it's recently been longlisted for a very coveted international prize, and I really hope Meeti is going to win this. And this is the awaited CWA that Traeger Award, and the book has been published by Bloomsbury India. Many thanks to them for putting this session together. So let us really get to know the author and the book better. So welcome, Meeti, on our platform.
Thank you, Neeta, so much for having me. Congratulations on the 104th episode.
It's a pleasure to have you with us today. So first of all, congratulations, Meeti, for writing a really page turner of a book. And as I mentioned, it unfolds like in Agatha Christie book. Definitely an authentic read for all the mystery lovers in the house. And you must grab a copy soon if you haven't till now. So your book, as I just mentioned, has been longlisted for the CWA New Blood Traeger Award 2022. So how do you feel about it? And how do you feel cracking the international crime fiction scene?
So it has been a very exciting time. I mean, I feel very validated that it was recognized internationally. And every time I hear you say it's like an Agatha Christie novel, it's like the highest compliment you can pay me, because I've grown up reading Agatha Christie's, and when I was writing this, I've studied the structure of Agatha Christie stories, and read them so often and so widely that I was hoping that by some sort of osmosis I have absorbed the sheer plotting and structures that she comes up with. Like, there's no one to beat her, so and regarding the international market, honestly, Nita, it was easier to crack the UK market than India. It got picked up very quickly in the UK. They have a very robust crime writing scene there, and the publishers loved it. And after the UK deal, the India deal took place with Bloomsbury. So, um, honestly, when I was writing it, I kept thinking that a book like this would, just the way we sit here in India and we're reading these mysteries about English villages, the Scottish towns. I'm currently reading this author called Louise Penny, whom I'm a big fan of, and she writes from this little village in Quebec. So we're sitting there here, and those worlds seem so attractive to us. I mean, you want to escape to those little hamlets and villages, right? So similarly, I thought that somebody sitting in Scotland would be intrigued by a cozy Gujarati neighborhood in Mumbai. So this was what was going on in my head while writing.
So tell us a little. I know I don't want to give away the suspense at all, and this is what the book is all about. Till the last page, you really don't come to know who done it. So maybe a little bit about this book that we're talking about today, and also the inspiration that you've had writing this book.
So the book begins with Radhi Zaveri, who's the protagonist. She's struggling. So she's a award-winning writer, but currently she's struggling with this writer's block, and she's had her heart broken, and she's just disillusioned. So she's been living abroad for more than a decade, and she's come back home to India, to Temple Hill, to heal. She's looking for inspiration and she wants to heal. But as soon as she comes back, she gets involved in this mystery involving the father of her best friend, Sanjana. So Sanjana's father, Kirti Kadakia, has committed suicide.
Yeah.
Now, but everybody who knows him, knows that this isn't like him. Right. So Sanjana and Radhi start asking questions, and the deeper they dig, the more family members they talk to. Radhi gets this distinct feeling that things are not what they appear. That there are a lot of these unanswered questions. So Radhi decides that why focus on her own problems when there's a murder mystery to solve? And that's how she launches into this investigation, so to say, and
Yes.
finds out that things are not all above board.
Yeah. No, definitely. And what has been your inspiration behind writing this book? I mean, why choose mystery crimes, or perhaps this is the genre that you've loved throughout, or how's it been?
Yes, I like I mentioned, I grew up reading Nancy Drews and Agatha Christie's, and basically mysteries are my go-to guilty pleasure. So while you're reading lit fic and you're reading widely, like one reads widely. I'm a literature student, so of
Mm.
course I've been reading widely throughout. But when it comes to going on a holiday, or when it comes to when you're done with the flu and you want to curl up in bed, or if it's a rainy day, then I tend to go towards a murder mystery. So when I decided to write fiction, this is my second book. In fact, my first was a non-fiction. It was
Yes.
a memoir. So this is my first fiction, and when I decided to write it, I said I must try my hand at a mystery. So like I said, all the Agatha Christie's I've read have proven to be inspiration.
So very right, and this has a particular setting. I mean, if you set your book against Temple Hill, which, as you can make out, and one can really see the resemblance between Malabar Hill,
Yes,
Mumbai, and Temple Hill in your book.
yes.
How did you really decide on the setting of the book, and also, do we really going to have maybe a series of Temple Hills, or how's it going to
So yes to both.
be?
I'm currently working on the second Temple Hill mystery, and there's definitely going to be a third as well. I have a three-book contract with my UK publisher. So after that, I don't know what Radhi's plans are after the third book, but three
Yes.
books for sure. And regarding setting it in Malabar Hill, and as I call it, Temple Hill. Um, so I grew up. This is where I grew up. So um, it's a it's a setting I'm intimately familiar with, and it's actually a perfect it's a prosperous, wealthy neighborhood, extremely conventional. People and families have lived in this neighborhood for generations. So a lot of everybody knows everybody, everybody's in everybody's business. Relationships are strong, family bonds are strong. So this was the kind of world, it's a perfect antithesis of where a crime could happen. So especially this community that I'm talking about, the Jain community, they practice ahimsa. They're a very non-violent, peaceful community. So I thought it would be a perfect backdrop for a murder. I mean, it's a perfect contrast. So and since I said it's a culture I am intimately familiar with, so I knew I could write about it with some sort of authenticity. So which is why uh, the mysteries are set there.
So that's why it is like as if from some insider, the way you have prolifically described entirely the community, the maybe the food, the culture,
Right.
even the wealth that the community, particular community has. So how's been the response from them about the book? I'm sure most of them, some of them at least, would have read.
Oh, so I have a huge family. I've grown up in Bombay, so lots of family and friends this side of town. And people who've read it have said, "Oh my God, we can relate to it. I know exactly which road you're talking about. I know exactly
Mm.
what park you're talking about." So they've related to it. Really related to it. Uh, so one thing, Nita, I've noticed is that this part of the city has not been shown in fiction very widely.
Mm.
So whenever there are films about Bombay, or whenever there are books written about Bombay, we see different sides of it. Like either you'll see the glitzy Bollywood glamorous side of sorry, the video kept switching. So either sometimes you see the glitzy Bollywood and Bollywood side of Bombay, or you see the crowded trains and the crowded slums of Bombay, or you might even see the Queen's necklace and the colonial fort and the VT, that whole Kolaba area of Bombay, and that's the generally the Bombay you've seen. but the Gujarati neighborhood, the Gujarati community of Bombay, this Malabar Hill is not an area we've really seen in literature, and even Gujaratis for that matter, apart from the occasional cliches that you see in films where, they're portrayed as a certain happy-go-lucky khata pita community. Apart from that, we've not really seen any genuine, I mean, at least I haven't seen any authentic depictions of the Gujaratis that I know and the people and the world that I know of. Um, so to answer, yeah, so that's why this part of Bombay I wanted to write about.
No, no, fantastic. And we really get a really good insight about, because most of us are aware of the food, yes, but yes, there's so many aspects. And, one thing which really makes your book very interesting is definitely the different characterizations, different characters, which kind of unfold and fold and still don't give away till the very last page of the book. So I would really like you to talk about them, and maybe one of the favorite characters that you could talk about in the book, so that people are really intrigued and they want to perhaps grab a copy immediately and read the book. Definitely.
Uh, One of my favorite characters, I would say, is Leela.
Mm.
She's Radhi's housekeeper, or an old friend slash housekeeper. That's how I can describe her. And I really like the camaraderie between the two of them. I also like the whole. I think one of the interesting things about the book is the whole upstairs, up this, above the stairs, below the stairs dynamics that goes on through the book, because like I said, it's a privileged community. So there's a retinue of servants and helpers and cooks and all sorts of people who oil this machinery, sort of, so there's a lot of dynamics between them, and there's dynamics between the upper between their employers, and then there's the relationship that they have with each other, and it's not always very employer employee. Like in the case of Radhi, as you see Radhi with Leela, they are um, yes, clearly she does all the housekeeping work for her, but you can tell that Radhi looks upon her um, as a kindred spirit, you know so that's the relationship I really like between them. And also, like for example, Palak Bain, if you've
Yes.
the smoothie housekeeper, so that is the other character I really enjoyed writing. Or even Ila Kaki as
Mm.
a character, the
Yes.
sugar sweet aunt,
Yeah.
and who says one thing and means another. So these are all characters you've seen, and in
Mm.
your circles, in your families, these are all characters that you'll come across.
So right, I liked Radhi and Sanjana a lot, and I really loved their friendship. To what extent Radhi went to kind of wanting to uncover the mystery that shows so much of love as friends. I feel they had. So what was before Dia takes over and she got stuck in the rains and she's just going to join us right now. So what is the most challenging part in writing this book that you faced, and what was the most exciting one that you felt that uh,
So
you
plotting it thoroughly was since it was the first time I was doing it, and I really wanted to make sure that there were no loose ends, and I wanted to make sure that all the red herrings, the cliffhangers, they've all been plotted properly. So plotting it in this foolproof, like a really airtight way, was a challenge. Finding time to write every day was a challenge because at that time I was working, and like, in the sense, I had a day job. Right now I've quit to sort of focus only on writing, but otherwise, so finding time was challenging. um, but the most fun part was writing about the world, because it's clear it's a world I love, and I really enjoyed writing and describing it, and kind of putting it up there for people who, even internationally, for people who are only, for them Indian food is curry and naan, or for them it's a dosa, that is Indian food, right? Or butter chicken, that's Indian
mm,
food for people abroad. I mean, things are changing, but still, for the majority, they do not realize how nuanced Indian food can be.
Yes, yes.
Why all of that was fun.
I might have to take up Dia's questions myself because there is again a network issue with her because, as I just told you, it's been like really raining cats and dogs here.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. So she really wants to congratulate you for writing a very, very exciting good in it. Who done it? I meant. So how much does plotting help? She asks you that in a murder mystery.
I think it is the crux. I mean, you can it's the foundation of your mystery. You read about authors who are pantsers, meaning they don't plot. They start with a rough premise and then they go where the story takes them. Um, for me, I find that kind of jumping in very terrifying. I as a reader also, I like everything tied up neatly in the end. I don't, I want all the answers. If a character was behaving shadily, I want to know in the end why they were. It can't just be there for effect. So, as a writer, that's the kind of plotting uh, that I wanted to do. Having said that, uh, there were times when the characters did not took a life of their own, so to say. Like you've heard authors say it, and now I finally know what that meant. Like they took a life of their own, and they've done things and said things which I hadn't planned for them originally to say or do. But yes, plotting was extremely important, so that
Uh,
it's a page turner in the real sense.
yeah, so you feel that yes, definitely a good plot is definitely. So did you really plan it, or you maybe
Yes.
sometimes let it take its own course,
Like I
perhaps?
said, I planned it thoroughly, but while writing, there were times when things were happening which I hadn't planned, which the characters wanted to do. So, uh, and then you have to allow them. Then you have to understand that that's a good thing that's happening to you. So then you have to take a step back and you have to say goodbye to your plot for a bit and see what they are doing.
Uh, you know, by the look of it, one can really make out that you really enjoyed writing this book together. So perhaps you would like to give some suggestion to the writers of the crime mysteries now that this is one genre that you perhaps might just carry it forward before you decide to maybe switch on to a different series or perhaps. So what would you like to kind of tell them? There are a lot of people who would really like to hear it from you.
I think it's not new advice, but I think it's really needs to be said that to write any genre well, you need to read a lot of it. So like I said, I grew up reading mysteries, but during the year or 2 years that I was plotting this mystery, I have read extensively, like every like little Australian mysteries and Scottish mysteries and Quebec Canadian mysteries. Like I've read extensively because that's the only way you understand. Like you've got your finger on the pulse of that genre. Then I mean, the cliffhangers come naturally. Then the red herrings come naturally. You know where the right pause for the book is, for the chapter is. So I think read a lot is one really a big piece of advice I can tell other aspiring crime writers to, and plot. I think there is no substitute for that kind of hard work. One needs to plot, then one can kind of stray away from the plot, but first have the plot.
So how much time roughly did it take you to write this book, put all these words together? I mean, it's quite a, I know it's a fast read, but I'm sure it needed your time and
Uh,
attention and perhaps months of writing. Perhaps, I don't know, how did
years,
it go with
years. So,
you?
2 years, a little over 2 years to write the book. And I had many false starts. There was a time when I started the book, wrote about 30,000 words of it, then decided it was completely rubbish and shelved it. And then did not come back to it for a good 9, 10 months, almost a year. Then, when I came back to it and read it again, I said, okay, maybe there is something in here. Then I replotted and started it again. So, it was a good 2.5 years. Yeah.
But that shows because the kind of response that it's been getting, I'm sure your hard work has really, really paid off. So you've just mentioned the kind of books that have inspired you, but other than that, and you also mentioned that reading does help you, not only in crime stories, I'm sure, everywhere. So what kind of books do you really recommend that maybe the readers in the house and those who later see this recording get inspired and continue, because this has definitely been one of our aims of this channel to kind of really improve reading in people, and we've been really successful. So I'd like to know from you maybe the kind of books, so if somebody wants to start reading, so what kind of books they should read and how they should just carry on from there.
If they're just starting to read, I do not know where. I mean, it really depends on the genre, but like what they're attracted to, whether it's lit fic or fantasy, or what
Mm,
is it that they are drawn to. And if they're just starting to read, then I'd say read a mystery, or read a book that's a page turner, because that sort of pulls you into the habit of reading every day.
mm,
But just a few books that I've read this year. I mean, it's impossible for me to say what books to read, but just the few books that really stayed with me this year was A Gentleman in Moscow
okay,
by I was beautiful. Then The Tattooist of Auschwitz is another thing I read this year. Um,
wonderful.
Normal People by Sally Rooney.
Mm,
um, Beckman, the man called and Anxious People, and so Beckman's really lovely to read as well. So any of these books, like pick it up, whatever the area of interest.
yeah, and just don't get disheartened that you're unable to finish the book. You would gradually come to that. I always tell people, but just
Yeah.
go and maybe perhaps go to a bookshop and try to buy whatever interests you. There is a question from Alka Khanna. She just sent it to me that do you let your personal influences guide your book writings, characters, and plots?
Absolutely. I don't know any other way of writing at the moment, at least. So, Radhi, for instance, is a writer like me, you know. Um, she's a Gujarati.
Hmm.
She's from Temple Hill. So all of that has come from I'm drawing upon personal experiences to write that world, write that character. Um, so yes, I don't. I mean, there at some point there's a leap of imagination, and people do things and things that you wouldn't dream of or you haven't done. But to start off with, I'm a strong proponent of write what you know, and then do it well, and then at some point the leap will happen.
Very nice. And there is another question by Hema Sethi, and she says, I think you've answered that how much reading helps you writing books. So that's already been answered. There is one more question from Shreya, and she says that what do you think on the basis of all your experience is the way to capture a reader's attention in books like these, the murder mystery? So how were you able to, the kind of response your book's been getting, so were you able to kind of have crack that code?
So one thing I'm very certain is that people come to a mystery for two things. One is clearly the puzzle, the hunt for the murderer, the puzzle, the joy of solving the puzzle along with the author. And the second is clearly the world that you've set your mystery in. um like I said, the book is called A Mumbai Murder Mystery, and it's released abroad. It released there much earlier than it released here. Like out there it was released in December. So I have had a lot of feedback and reviews from international readers, and they've all reacted to the world of the book. So I think equal amounts of attention needs to be paid, not only to the puzzle and the moving parts of the mystery, but the world you are setting it in. Because what people are really looking for is to escape. So, especially cozy crime writers, they want a cozy world to escape to. So that you need to really focus on.
Anything else? Perhaps anybody else who would like to ask a question, they put it in the chat box and we'll take the questions. I know I'm getting these questions on the side, but if somebody else wants to ask a question, you're most welcome. We still have 3, 4 minutes. But anything else that you would like to talk about the book that we've not touched? Maybe something that we would need to know about you more.
I think you've pretty much asked me everything, and like I said, I don't know. I can't think of anything new or different to talk about it. But so I can tell you about the major theme of the book. I think that sort of got revealed to me when I at the end of the book, and which was I was focusing on this society and the cost of living in this privileged society. I feel that while it is a world of privilege, it's a affluent, prosperous world, but there is a cost to living here, and the cost is that you have to constantly keep up appearances. So if you see throughout the book, there's a lot of focus on um, a person's reputation, on how things appear, and people do have to pay a price to keep up that appearance. So I think that was a overarching theme, I think, for the book, which I sort of went back and saw it really clearly.
Yes, yes, definitely. That important part I definitely missed. We have Bindu Tandon here, and she's also an author. So, Bindu, would you like to unmute yourself and switch on your video? We'd like to, perhaps you can ask her your question. Yes, hi, Bindu, nice to see you.
Yeah, hello.
Hi, Bindu.
Yeah,
Yes, Bindu,
hi.
we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Very well.
Okay, so congratulations. Well done. This looks like a real cracker of a book. I'm in Mumbai as well. And Malabar Hill, of course, is an exciting place up the hill, down the hill. Do you go to Babulnath in your book?
Not in this book, but who knows? Maybe the next one.
Wow. Okay. And is there a lot of blood and gore in that one murder of yours?
Not at all. So I was telling Neeta also, it's a cozy crime. I
Yes.
personally prefer reading. So there's just the death that happens, and then we don't kind of there's no blood, there is no gore. And as a writer, I'm not a very drawn to the gritty underbellies of cities, or motives of psychopaths or serial killers, or
Okay,
any of
okay.
that. It is the normal people and what pushes them to do the unthinkable sometimes. That's what I wanted to explore. So no blood, no gore. I'm very averse to that. For a murder mystery writer, that's strange to say, but I'm averse to it. So it's a
Sanitized. It's a sanitized murder mystery.
it's just a murder mystery. No, I wouldn't say it's sanitized. It's just a mystery that focuses on everything else about why the murder happened, rather than the murder
Okay,
itself.
the motives. Yeah.
Yes.
That's great. Good. Yeah, thank you. All the best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bindu.
Yes. Thank you, Neeta.
Thank you. So thank you, Meeti, for being on our show, and we're really happy that there are a lot of readers will be interested in reading your book, definitely. And if there's some more questions coming up, I'll definitely put it up on YouTube when I put on this, and perhaps you can answer them directly.
Of course.
And I must recommend that, it's like an afternoon read. You can always be there on a Sunday and just want to go through the book, few hours it takes. Also, holiday vacation, I did that when I was in London. So, Meeti, thank you for being with us today on our 104th episode.
Thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed our conversation. And like you said, it's we are all gearing up for our Ganpati break, so we have 5 days off. So yes, it's a perfect book to read on a short mini break. It doesn't take too long, and it's fun. Thank you so much.
So much, very right. And please do subscribe to our YouTube channel, Trends Literature Series, and you'll find the recordings of today's session and all our previous interactions that we've had till now, all these engrossing and conversations that we keep on having and try to have every week.
It's a lovely thing you're doing, Neeta. I must say, I've gone and watched some of the episodes and really enjoyed them. So it's a lovely thing. So please do.
Yes, and I'll wait for your second mystery. So whenever you have it, we'll perhaps launch it online, offline. By that time, we would be going perhaps into a dual mode. And thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming in. And thank you, everyone who's going to watch this later on the YouTube. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.